Hello, so this is a quick hardware update. So in a previous video I've shown you everything that's in my PC and all the peripherals I have, and I thought I'd give you a quick update as to some of the things that have been going on. My actual PC is fine. This is basically all the stuff that's in it apart from the fact that I changed the hard drives over. You can go off to this video and it will show you everything that's in my PC. All of this is working fine. The case, the motherboard, the processor, the memory, the drives, the power supplies, the cooling, it all works great. Some of it is getting pretty old now, but it's still kicking, it's still working really well. So all of these bits I can heartily recommend. You probably can't buy these because they're a bit old, but the manufacturers, I would say, are doing a pretty good job from my experience. However, all is not going quite so well with the peripherals. Now the first one that's causing me issues is the Samsung 27-inch monitor. Now these monitors have always had a bit of an issue where occasionally it would say it's not running in optimal mode. It would think it's not in 920 by 1080 because it's a 920 by 1080p monitor, that's what it calls optimal. But since I went to the 980 Ti, it's been having this problem more and more frequently, and now it'll do it like once a day. It will say I'm not in optimal mode. Now it doesn't give you a nice little message in the top right hand corner or something, it turns the screen black and has this floating around message. Weirdly, it doesn't do it when it's gaming, it usually does it when it's just in Windows. So I don't know what the problem is. I think maybe the monitor is just getting a bit old. There's no driver updates for this, it's just controlled by Windows 10 and there's no way of updating the firmware. So if it carries on, the monitor's probably going to have to get replaced, but at the moment it's livable with. But it's the first time I've ever had a problem with a Samsung monitor, and all three monitors in my house are Samsung. Next we get onto my Roccat Iscu FX keyboard and my Roccat Cone XTD mouse. Now we'll go onto the mouse, and this is a great mouse. Its build quality seems great, except that the left mouse button is now travelling before it hits the button. What I mean by that is if you put your finger on the left mouse button, you'll feel it go down before it hits the top of the switch. Now I think this is probably that the plastic has bent out of shape in the top of the mouse. It's just sort of worn out from overuse. It doesn't have separate mouse buttons. The whole top of the mouse curves over and becomes the buttons. It's split down the middle. So I think basically the plastic shell is just bent. Now I can fix this, all I have to do is take the mouse apart and bend the plastic back, but there's a problem with that, is that I don't like doing things like that unless I have a replacement already lined up. You know, if you don't have a backup mouse, well, what do you do? The Razer Death Adder that this replaced was almost completely destroyed by the time I replaced it, so I don't actually have a backup mouse. So I might have to replace the Roccat Cone before I can see if it's fixable. The problem with the Iscu is a bit more puzzling. So this keyboard isn't mechanical, it's just a standard keyboard, but it's got advanced anti-ghosting and it's got 1000 Hz poll rate. It's really good, but it started ghosting. Well, actually no, not really ghosting. Ghosting is when keys don't work when you press them. What's happening at the moment is that keys that I'm not pressing seem to be becoming pressed. Now at first I thought this was my mistake. What seems to be happening is when my index finger moves from the D key to the R key to reload, sometimes I would knife, which is F. Now I thought, well, you just hit the wrong key or caught the F key as you were going to the R. But then on one occasion when I was actually glancing down at my keyboard and saw my finger go from the D to the R key and press the R key without touching the F or pressing the F or brushing over it, I looked up and saw my character knifing on the screen and not reloading, which is a bit inconvenient. Now hopefully this is just a matter that I need to take the keys off and clean it all out. But again, do I want to take my keyboard apart without actually having a backup in place? And I don't have a backup in place because my SteelSeries keyboard went out of the window a long time ago. So I don't have a backup keyboard and mouse. The Roccat Iscu and the Roccat Cone both seem to be wearing out. So it might be time to get replacements for these, or at least backups for these, so that I can then repair these two. Despite these issues, I really like the Iscu and the Cone. The Cone fits my hand really well, and I like the feel of the Iscu over a mechanical keyboard. It's just a bit odd that they were both bought at the same time, they're both the same age, and they both seem to be wearing out at the same time. So I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying it's something you should think about if you're going to go with a Roccat product, is that they may not be as reliable as some others. The next product I have an issue with is the Razer Kraken 7.1 Chroma. Now, I bought this because supposedly this has a really good quality digital mic and it records sound really well and it's perfect for doing gameplay videos. It's not. Now, this is a perfectly good gaming headset. The 7.1 surround sound works really well and the microphone is perfect for Ventrilo or TeamSpeak or in-game chat. Gaming headsets are always going to be a bit of a compromise. Usually the headphone quality isn't as good as if you just bought a standard pair of headphones for the same price, although the 7.1 surround sound on the Chroma does work quite well. And the microphone is never going to be as good as a standalone microphone. So while the Chroma is perfectly good as a gaming headset, just don't treat it as anything else. Don't believe what they say about the digital quality of their microphone, it's just a standard gaming headset. So that's my quick hardware update. It's a few niggling issues with peripherals, but they are those kind of issues that are annoying and might make you think about what peripherals you buy. I have spoilt myself slightly by buying a Gigabyte Brix, which is a more powerful mini PC than the little Wintel one I've got hooked up to my TV. That's simply to keep me entertained while I'm laid up, and basically just because I wanted to buy myself something techie to make myself feel better. But as I haven't really used it, there's not much point me going into any details on that, so maybe in a later video when I'm back.